All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Friday Night Live, fourth round playoff edition. I'm the Pep Man, Matt Morrow. Tonight, we were at Chambers in Weddington, and what I saw was one of the most impressive playoff performances that I can remember in recent memory. Chambers came out and put on a clinic tonight, and winning big 45 to 14 over a Weddington team that has won multiple championships, and been one of the premier programs the past several years in the state of North Carolina. And when you see something like that, it is just sheer out utter dominance. You have to give credit where credit is due. Um, one of the things we talked about on the show is it's very hard, to blow teams out, this deep in the playoffs. That was a blowout. Um, Chambers came out on the first drive of the game, and they took, I think it was about 7 minutes off of the clock. A very efficient drive, mixing in runs and short passes. They took a 7-0 lead. Defense came out, forced a punt. I think the teams traded punts, and then Chambers got the ball back and went up 14-0. Then, Weddington had a big play, a big 73-yard run by Kyle Parsons, Queen City Senior Bowl selection, cut it to 14-7. They had the momentum on their side. The crowd was getting into it, but then Chambers had the play of the game. They called a reverse pass and executed it beautifully, and that took the momentum back before halftime, 21-7. I think that really, shut Weddington down from a momentum standpoint. Went into halftime, came back out. Weddington got the ball. They couldn't do anything. Then Chambers got the ball. I believe it was a Bubba Camp pass to Armand Wright, the young receiver. A little hitch pass, made the corner miss, and took it, I think it was 77 yards for a touchdown. And when they got up 28-7, you could feel it. You could feel Weddington kind of, it was almost like they were kind of in shock because, they've never been in that situation. I mean, it's been a long time since they've lost a game in that manner. And, they tried. They tried to throw and get back in the game, but, Chambers' defense was just all over the place. Um, you know, Grady House, the Weddington quarterback, was under pressure. James Pierce, the talented defensive end, got a pick six interception off of that pressure that was caused. Um, the play of Chambers caused Weddington um, to do things that they don't normally do. There was several high snaps. I know, that's probably because they're worried about getting to their block, um, more so than, getting the snap, secured and done and executed the right way. There were holding penalties, caused by that very strong Chambers front seven. Um, Turnovers, all kind of things that you just don't see. And one of the things that we didn't talk about, but we should have, was when you have great talent that is motivated and coached well, it can cause those things that you see from well coached teams to go haywire. And when that happens, you got a great recipe for a dominant performance. And quite simply, that's what it was. I'll have a highlight package out for this game a little later tonight. But right now there are interviews. We talked to Coach Ferb after the game, as we always do when we cover Chambers. It was a great interview. I thought he said some great things about his kids and his staff. That's on Twitter and Facebook. And then we talked to Coach Q, offense coordinator. That's also on Twitter and Facebook. It was a really good interview. I thought the offensive staff did a great job. I mean, you don't see Weddington give up 45 points, especially fourth round of playoffs at home. That never happens, and that's a kudos to the coaching job, that those guys are doing at Chambers. And then we talked to a young offensive lineman, goes by JB, Jeremiah Blaylock, and I put that interview. It's on Instagram, and I think it's on our Facebook page also. So kudos to Chambers, and like I said, dominant performance. They're on a mission, and they find motivation, and they take that and they use it, and it is like rocket fuel for those guys. So whoever they play next, and I know who it is, but I'm just saying, these guys are scouring any crumb of disrespect on social media and taking it, and they're feeding it, and it's a feeding frenzy once they get a hold of it. So kudos to those players and coaches at Chambers. Beautiful, dominant football tonight in the fourth round of playoffs, and you don't see that. You just don't see that, and you have to give credit where credit is due, for sure. Okay, we got a bunch of comments to address, so I just wanted to share, observations on that one. Okay, first off, we got Mr. Muhammad in here, South Point Rock Hill. Yep. 4A state championship bound. We got, friends down there from the 704 coaching on that staff. Coach Littlejohn, Coach Van Horn, Coach Bryant. Congratulations. That's awesome. They won over Greenville tonight, 24-14 in the 4A upper state championship game to go to the state title game next week. Very happy for those guys. Like I've talked about before, we had a lot of South Point kids come to our last camp that we did with CFI back in the summer. They are really, really good, and they've got really, really great coaching, and I'm very happy, for those guys to get a chance to go to state title game. And, once again, you talking about motivation, these guys have been motivated by the fact that, people in South Carolina are saying they're not the same South Point, and, I'm telling you, great teams, they find that motivation and they use it, and, it's a big, big, big motivator, and, they're coming together just based off of, people saying that they're not the same, and they're showing that tradition is still there. So congratulations to the Stallions. Very proud of those guys. Hopefully they can go and bring another state title back to Rock Hill. All right, Tim Pride coming in. He did say that. He did say that on the show. He said they were a good team, but they never played a team of Chambers caliber. That is correct. That is correct. And then also Jermaine Brandon saying is, something similar. Weddington didn't have the athletes to play with Chambers. You'll see it in the highlights. When that highlight package comes out, you'll definitely see it. All right, Chris Walton, Shelby Lions in the 32-game win streak of Reedsville. Yeah, I was getting updates on that, and very happy for Shelby. We know that was a huge game in 2A West. We talked about it on the show. Of course, we had, Big Shelby, Coach Webb, on the show staff, and very happy for him. And I know he's having a great, great time celebrating that victory. Chris Scott, shout out to Coach Webb and them Golden Lions. Defense played out of their mind tonight. Absolutely. I hadn't seen the final score yet. I think the last one I saw was 22-7. Shelby was up, so I know they won the game, but I hadn't seen the final score. So if someone can put the final score up, I'll put it out there too. That's good stuff. Markel, I told people Weddington has never seen a team like them. Yeah, that's very accurate. And if you were there, their crowd, to their credit, most of them stayed, the whole game, but it was like a stunned silence, on their side, and this doesn't happen. It just does not happen, and once again, kudos to Chambers. That was an awesome performance. All right, Fred McNeil's Huff D looked very, very good tonight. Yep, we had the Queen there, and our newest family member in CFI, Zayflix, was there. So you'll get an awesome highlight from that game because he does awesome work. But I know, I think Huff won that game 26, was it 26-14 or 26-7? I can't remember the exact final, but yeah. Well, that's one of the things we talked about on the show was their speed on their defense, and we weren't sure that East Forsyth had the right kind of mix to take advantage of that matchup on offense. So John chiming in that East Forsyth Huff game was good. The D-line pick 6 was epic. Oh, okay. Well, hopefully we got some highlights of that, and once we get that processed, we'll get that out there for everybody to see and enjoy. So, good stuff. Jermaine Chambers had coached well. Yep. I really wanted to highlight, the coaches tonight. And we highlighted the defensive coordinator, Coach Cannon, when they beat Hickory Ridge. So we were able to get Coach Wright, the OC, tonight, along with Coach Ferb, who, I thought his interview was excellent. So please check that out. John, Coach Littlejohn is a game changer. He's doing an awesome job, man. He's doing an awesome job down across the border. Joe Hughes, I guess Gaffney won. All right. Well, that's good for Gaffney. That's awesome. Big Shelby, Coach Webb. Shelby won 31-14. Good stuff. Good stuff, man. I did see Shelby's going to move on and play East Surrey, who won by 1 over Maiden. So Shelby hosting East Surrey next week in the regional final. That's awesome stuff, man. So apparently Gaffney won 56-31. Good gracious, man. Good stuff. Good stuff for Gaffney. Let's see. Monte. Chambers has great balance. Mark my words. The defense will show up and show out next week. Okay. Well, I'm going to get to that game. I'm holding off just a minute because I'm going to tell you, that's going to be something. Let's see, Jermaine, Huff defense, very tough, and they play like teams overlook them. They stay hungry and focused and create turnovers. Yep. No disputing that. Let's see, Joe also chiming in. Big comeback by East Surrey to beat Maiden. Wow. That East Surrey offense is something special. You can never count them out of a game. Never count them out of a game. All right. I did get we got an update on all the scores, so I'm going to go to that, and then we'll talk about, matchups next week across the state here. So, all right. So, let's see, 4A, we obviously know we've got Chambers over Weddington. We talked about that. Huff over East Forsyth. Talked about that. So, in the East, Rollsville continues to roll as the number 20 seed. No pun intended. 47-24 over Leesville Road, and then Cardinal Gibbons over Panther Creek 42-14. So next week, our regional finals, the 4A West, of course, is Huff hosting Julius Chambers. And then in the East, we got Cardinal Gibbons against Rolesville. Cardinal Gibbons is hosting that game. So we have teams that we are all familiar with because we know Gibbons from earlier this season. We know Rolesville from the spring. So the winner of the Huff Chambers game next week will face an opponent that is, somewhat familiar to the 704, which is, sometimes not the case, but I think that's pretty cool in this case. In 3A in the West, we had some good action. South Point continues to roll from the 16 seed, 34-27 overtime victory at Crest. Wow. And then Dudley over Statesville, 20-6. So that sets up Dudley hosting South Point in the 3A West Regional Final next week. And then in the East, we have Jacksonville over number 1 Eastern Alamance, 27-21 in overtime. And then J.H. Rose finally knocks off Scouting County, 49-28. So in the East, J.H. Rose will host Jacksonville in the 3A East Regional Final. In 2A West, we talked about Shelby's victory over Reedsville. We talked about East Surrey over Maiden, so we know Shelby is hosting East Surrey in an awesome regional final next week at George Blanton Stadium in Shelby. And then in the East, we have Princeton over St. Paul's, 45-28. And then Wallace Rose Hill, the 10 seed, 57-22 over number 3 Northeastern. So in the 2A East, we will have Princeton, the number 1 seed, hosting Wallace Rose Hill, the number 10 seed. And then in 1A, you got Mitchell over Mount Airy, 21-14. Robbinsville over Murphy, 28-14. And in the East, Tarboro continues to roll, 27-3 over Northampton County. And Pender, number 6, over number 2 Northside Pinetown, 34-28. So our 1A regional finals, you have the West Mitchell hosting Robbinsville, and then Tarboro hosting Pender. So awesome football next week. This is my favorite week of the playoffs, the regional final. I'm telling you, man, the best games that I have remembered over the years have been these regional finals. When Harding won the state title, their regional final against Vance at the time came literally down to the last play. One of the best games, that I can remember covering. And then there's, several games, that I think about, throughout the years where the Dudley Catholic matchup where it was about 4 degrees at Charlotte Catholic. That was a great regional final from a couple years ago. So just 2 examples right there. So a couple more comments. Illustrious saying to next week's the state championship, Huff versus Chambers. Then he says Rolesville will win big over Gibbons. I think Rolesville is rolling at the right time. Fred coming in. This has to be the latest we've seen Huff Chambers in the playoffs. That was going to be one of the things I was going to talk about here in a minute. The new playoff system, for its faults, I think it worked. I mean, how many times have we seen matchups like this between the 2 best teams in Charlotte happen in the second round? I mean, we saw it way too many times. But now, the 2 teams that were number 1 and number 2 all year in every, in our poll where we rank the city or the CMS teams, and in our regional poll, they were number 1 and number 2 all year long. They get to meet, and probably, oh my gosh, this is on the level of you think about back in the day, an Independence West Charlotte matchup when they were big, or you go back to the '80s when West Charlotte and Harding were right there at the top. It's just on that level. When you talk about Charlotte football. This is yeah. Thank you, Markel. Yeah, Indy Butler is a good comparison when they were, both kind of right there at the top. This is one of the best matchups in a regional final that we've had, in a while, between two great programs, great coaching, great players. We seen this game earlier in the season. It was a physical, defensive football game that Huff won, down at the revamped Memorial Stadium. But throughout the past couple of years, we have seen this matchup play out twice. And we've seen Huff win before in the regular season. And we've seen Chambers come back and win in the playoffs. The theme all week long, you'll hear it not only on our show, but you'll see it on social media. You'll see other people talk about it. Can the Huskies get over the hump? Can they get to a state championship? It's kind of like you think about the NBA back in the 80s. You had those dynasties. You had the Lakers and the Celtics dominate in the 80s. And then you saw the rise of the Detroit Pistons, the bad boys, where they had to fight and they had to get through the Celtics to get there. And then you saw the rise of Michael Jordan and the Bulls, and they had to fight and get through the Pistons to get there. Huff is that team that has been rising. They've been rising. They've been rising. They've been knocking. They've been knocking, but they keep getting knocked down. Can they get through? Is this the year? That's going to be the question you hear all week long. Can they do it? I'll tell you this. We'll be there. It may be all of CFI there. I don't know, but I know me and the producer will be there, next Friday at Huff. I'll go through your comments because I think there's some really good comments here. So Illustrious saying about time they got it right. We're talking about the playoff setup, two best in the state. Let's see, John saying Forsyth was saying Huff never been hit in the mouth. I see this all this social media stuff, man. I saw that stuff. I saw those comments. And I mean, it's okay to be confident, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what we saw tonight, we saw the best team in the 3-3-6, East Forsyth. They got taken out by Huff. We saw the best team in Union County, although they are 704, there are 704 brothers, but we saw the best team in Union County, Weddington, get taken out by Chambers. The dominance of Charlotte football showed tonight. And we always talk about, it's a different game in the city of Charlotte. And it bore out tonight. It really did. It really did. Illustrious saying we have said all year this is the game of the year. Markel, Huff Chambers have a symbiotic relationship. That's a great word. Symbiotic, man. Illustrious saying Huff, I want to see if they are ready to be champions. That's a great statement. That's a great statement right there. Fred saying I really think this is the year Huff does it. That's going to be the debate all week long. Jermaine saying Huff has to beat Chambers to quiet everyone. Yeah. I mean, this is what you want. This is what you want, if you want to be great. You want to go through the team that has been knocking you out. You got it on a platter. if your Huff is on your home field, you're the number one seed. You got everything lined up for you to really make a statement. And, I know, those guys are going to be super motivated. They're going to be motivating their kids. That is going to be an epic Friday night speech by, that coaching staff. The moment's here. This is it. This is it. And it's all about what are you going to do with the opportunity presented in front of you? Because you're only going to get one chance at it. Those seniors over there, they've got a chance to correct, some things that have been tough to deal with. A lot of tough losses for that program, and they got a chance. And that's all you can ask for. But you got to play a team that is playing absolutely out of this world right now in Chambers, and they're on a mission too. I think both of these teams feel some disrespect from different angles. I think the rivalry between themselves, of course, it's a major plot. You got a lot of things to pull from, in this matchup, and we're going to talk about it, on the show on Wednesday night for sure. Jermaine, Charlotte football is the best in NC, period. Yeah. Yeah. I'm telling you, man, I'm ready to the dang on start breaking it down right now, but I'm going to wait for the crew because I know they all got something to chime in about on this one. Yeah, Markel, it's something about Chambers going on the road in the playoffs, man. It's been fun. I'll tell you, we've covered a number of their road games, throughout the playoffs the past couple of years. It's fun. It's fun to watch them because it almost feels like they feel like it's them against the world in some ways, and it's amazing. It's amazing for them to come out there and do, what they do, consistently on the road. So, I mean, it's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome, awesome game. And then you got some other, like we talked about, I think Dudley South Point, that's going to be a great game. What plan does Dudley put together to slow down a South Point offense that is really clicking right now, and playing, their best football of the year. In 2A, we already talked about Shelby East Surrey. That's going to be a crazy offensive matchup. We'll see, Shelby's defense can rise up again and shut down a really good East Surrey attack. It's awesome football in the western part of the state, in these 4A, 3A, 2A matchups. And, we are really going to break it down on the show next week. So Illustrious, they have the embrace. They have embraced the come in your trap and take over your trap mindset. Yeah, absolutely have. And yes, Jermaine, yeah, that's gonna be another awesome game down there. Just really, really, really great football, man. Really great football. So stick with us. Wednesday night, Football Focus Weekly will get started 7:30. We'll review, this week's action with the crew, and then, we'll get into these big, huge games next week. You're gonna see a whole segment on, Huff and Chambers. Awesome football game coming up next Friday at Huff. Whenever the tickets go on sale, get them, because this one's going to sell. If you like Charlotte football, you want to see some talented kids, really go after it, man, get your tickets early and get there early. Now, Huff has a good setup with parking, but I would still, get there and make sure you get a good spot because it's going to be something. Jordan, congratulations, man. Jordan McVay is a part of that Stallion offensive line. Does a great job, man. They're going to the state title game, man. Congratulations, young man. Shouted you guys out earlier on Friday Night Live tonight. Great job, man. Proud of you guys, man. You really deserve it. Hardworking guys, very talented. Great work, man. Proud of you guys. But once again, we'll get these highlights out from Chambers and Weddington here in the next few minutes. It'll be a package, and then we may do some individual plays later on because there were a couple of nice ones that Chambers pulled off, and Weddington too. They had a couple of bright spots as well. So that being said, I'm the Pep Man Matt Morrow. Appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching Friday Night Live. And we'll see you next week, Football Focus Weekly, Wednesday night, 7:30, right here on these same social media outlets. Good night, everybody.